Like you said, we got the men in suits and the women in boots today.
Nice.
I wear my overalls just because it's like most comfortable. I was like, I'll be my most authentic self here.
That's a pretty good tagline.
You never know when someone's going to put you to work.
It's like, I don't know if I could, throw a weld over there or something.
It's almost time to celebrate manufacturing's finest contributors at the annual Nuts, Bolts, and Thingamajigs Awards Gala. This fun and exciting evening supports the next generation of manufacturers by raising funds for scholarships and educational programs. Help build tomorrow's skilled workforce by attending or participating in the online silent auction. Bid on artwork and other unique items throughout the evening from anywhere. Get all the details at gala.nutsandboltsfoundation.org.
All right. Hello, Dan Davis from the Fabricator magazine.
Lincoln Brunner from Tube and Pipe Journal.
And we're here at Fabtech 2023 in Chicago.
Exciting
First day.
Exciting day.
Yeah. And I made the mistake of saying, I can't believe it's been a year. And then someone noted it hasn't been a year.
Yeah. 10 months.
Yeah. Welcome to a September Fabtech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one day it happens to be raining where it hasn't been any rain in Chicago for like 2 months.
Right.
So,
well, better than snow in November.
yes. Other than that, pretty good beginning to the show.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's a lot of excitement in terms of the metal fabricating industry keep moving forward. And
The booths are crowded today.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of booths that it's hard to find space to look at the exhibits. It's one of those things where you wonder, okay, day one, how's it going to go? And it seems like the attention span is long and the interest is high. So
yeah. So have you seen anything of interest?
I've seen, honestly, kind of trying to get back to basics in this one. Things like grinding wheels. I went and saw and okay, sometimes you think, well, that's basic technology, been around a long time. Actually, turned out to be fairly interesting. It's just. So I'm not discounting anything this time. I'm going to go and look in every nook and cranny, but the actual R&D work on a certain company's grinding wheel was of interest just because of all the work that went into doing something that a lot of people take for granted.
Yeah. So a lot of automation. It's kind of exciting to see.
Absolutely.
In applications where perhaps you haven't seen it in the past, but
I have yet to really explore all the AI applications that are being developed right now and being displayed. I haven't even really gotten into that aspect of it yet. We got 3 more days.
Yeah. So I think you'll enjoy this conversation with our guest, Nikita Adickes of CTEK.
Extremely bright young woman.
Yeah.
Wow.
Structural shop out of California.
Yeah.
She came a long way. She said she came from work, flying back and going straight back to work.
Yeah. So she literally came to Chicago for a visit to Fabtech and lunch.
She's
I think
on
just
a
to do
deadline.
this.
Yeah.
Just to do this.
The power of the Fabricator podcast.
She came in wearing her steel-toed boots.
Right.
Yeah. She's ready. So enjoy this episode of 2 guys in suits and a guest in her work boots.
Yeah.
Thank you.
FMA's Coil Processing Workshop heads to Toledo. During this 2-day workshop, you'll connect with industry colleagues and gain insight into your toughest processing challenges. The small group setting includes facility tours for you to see equipment in action and discover new solutions for cutting, slitting, leveling, safety, and more. For more information and to register online, please visit fmamfg.org. And now, back to the episode.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Guys in Suits. We're taping this live.
Except our guest.
I guess we would be taping it dead, but anyway, we're at Fabtech 2023 here in Chicago. We're joined today by Nikita Adickes of CTEK.
CTEK.
And it stands for?
Creative Technologies Corporation.
That's it. Nikita describes herself as a fabricator, an auto enthusiast, and what are some other modifiers that you use online?
I would describe myself as an architectural fabricator, project manager, and an automotive customization shop, but I do that as well. So pretty much I do a lot of automotive customization, fabrication, and then architectural world. I do architectural fabrication, leading the team, and project managing. Majority of the work I do is just about that. And so that extends into all materials and a lot of, niche products and materials that we get to work with in the industry.
And CTEK stands for?
Creative Technologies Corporation.
And how long has that been around?
The company's been running for 30 years. I've been there for 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your background always had an interest in metal fab, or?
Yeah. So basically my background was, I was always into cars, very much so in my younger years. That was always kind of the start of that industry or hands-on type of work. And then my father started the company 30 years ago, and I just about graduated high school. He said he needed some help on a project for Frank Gehry, if you've heard of that name before. He's a well-known architect. And it was just pretty much some grunt work. And I said, yeah, why not? I've always loved architecture. I've always seen him work around it, I've always wanted to give it a shot. So I said, yeah, why not? I'll get in the shop and try out some grunt work. And that's exactly what I did. And here I am 7 years later, almost running the company. No, maybe 5 years. We'll see.
Hint to dad.
Yeah.
It's amazing that you would just like kind of dovetail so seamlessly into the family business.
Definitely.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it just goes to show if you're interested in something, and you have passion about it, it could take you a really long way. And that's pretty much exactly what I did. So like I said, it was just kind of the grunt work. It was pretty much like, just starting in the shop. And I noticed that I was not only super natural at it, but I also really loved it. It was super fascinating to me. And then the more I was around it, the more I really got into just every single aspect of the fabricating and industry. So going from the architects to the drawings to the installation to the manufacturing to the fabricating to like the final artwork and the artist, the entire process just absolutely took me over. And then on top of that, the strengths of the materials, that is what blew my mind the most, and what really drew me in was actually getting to work with materials and just this building above our roof head, just the amounts of loads, pressure, tensile strengths, everything happening around us just started really coming into play. I started really observing and really just appreciating the industry, the fabrication behind it and what went into it, and then the material strengths that went into it as well. It all just really intrigued me. And so I just kind of every year got more into it, pushed myself harder, observed, learned from my peers, self-taught most of my stuff. My father taught me a lot of my stuff. I self-taught a lot, and then a lot of it was trial and error. And just spending the absolute ridiculous hours in the shop, like I said. So I think the only reason why I'm able to spend such ridiculous hours in the shop is because I love it so much. And that it just kind of feels like a home, a secondary home almost to me. So I've definitely just, I got into the fabrication career in 2017, and I've just let it take me, and I've tried to, make my stand in the fabrication industry as well. So like you said, we got the men in suits and the women in boots today.
Nice.
I wear my overalls just because it's like most comfortable.
That's
I was like, I'll
good
be my most
tagline.
authentic self here.
Love it.
Nerds in suits.
Yeah, I was like,
You
I
might-
don't know if I could, throw a weld over there or something,
There might be someone in some need of some, machine work over there.
So in high school, did pre 2017 Nikita, would anybody have an idea that she'd be doing what she's doing now?
I've always been a super spontaneous, kind of hands-on, hardworking gal. So I'm pretty sure they wouldn't even doubt it, because I was super into cars in high school, and I was working like kind of deal was if I got straight A's for a couple years, then my father would help me build my car, like in the shop space. And so that was obviously a big thing. So I was saving up for a car, and I had super big motivation to get a car. So I was always talking about it and always kind of just doing crazy stuff. So they wouldn't doubt it for a minute. They would be like, that makes sense. She ended up like how she is right now.
So what was your first ride?
My first ride, well, crappy like hand-me-down car. Like it got me through high school, but I saved up for a Subaru BRZ. And so I bought that from the junkyard, for a couple of $1,000, and then I rebuilt it. It was a piece of scrap metal pretty much. It had total exterior body damage, a little bit of suspension damage. The engine was perfectly fine. I restore salvage cars, if you guys have seen on my social media before. But so that was my first salvage car that I restored by myself. And so, like I said, my father helped me. He guided me. I did as much as I could. Obviously, I was mostly doing all the work, and it was my beginning of fabrication. So the more detail-oriented stuff I had help with. We re-welded on a rear quarter panel. My buddy Elvis helped me on with that. But the body work and bondo work, I pretty much did did all that, and then I started souping up everything. So I got a fun wide body kit, fun, little race car suspension, and all the fun stuff you could throw into those cars.
Obviously, taking that car to places where you can achieve speeds where you need all that.
Yeah,
not on
the
public
Subaru
roads.
BRZ,
Of course not.
Speeds.
Children.
Nobody in Southern California drives too quickly.
Yeah, so that was, my very personal first car. Yeah. The Subaru BRZ. So I still have that. It's still my awesome, I daily car that's like 2 inches from the ground every day. It's static, so you can't adjust the suspension. But it's fun. I love it. I love the community from it. I love working until 2 a.m. on it.
Yeah.
And everything it's brought in my life. Just right now, not really, just like nails in the tire, and if I bump my splitter, I got to repair it, some stuff like that.
So
but,
what were some of the vehicles you jumped into after that?
So some of the cars I've restored after that was a Honda S2K for my brother. I've done a Camaro for my sister. I had helped a little bit on that, but the S2K for my brother, I was super, super hands-on. And then we've done a couple Audis. A lot of Audis. I just restored a shop car. We have an Audi A4 now, all-road for the shop, just a daily.
All-road? Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like a little sedan type. Not a sedan, but it's a little like shorter van style, but it's awesome. And then I just restored that, and then I did another Audi A7. And I've got a supercar in the works behind the scenes that, I haven't been able to share anywhere, but that's also been a huge priority of mine behind the scenes that, that's been going on for about 8 years.
I'm looking at your Instagram feed. Like you got videos of yourself just doing all the grunt work on a trunk lid and a fender, all that stuff. I mean, very patiently, very hands-on. But you're talking about also really being kind of geeked out about the higher level stuff, like the metallurgy and tensile strengths and things.
Yes.
I mean, so it's kind of a broad base of interest in metals. What jazzes you most?
What jazzes me the most? That is such a good question. I would have to say the strengths of everything, honestly.
Okay.
Like when I see something and I, understand that we run through tests, strengths on all of our materials. If we're working through epoxy, we'll get certified testing and stuff like that done, for all the engineering and for obviously to make sure we're all doing our job right. And seeing an application, we achieved 5,000 pounds per 1 square inch off an epoxy.
Wow.
So 1 square inch, you're going to hold your truck.
Yeah.
Of just this little dot of epoxy. And so we formulated the technology of the application beforehand and afterhand to achieve that. And so it is a 3M epoxy, but the application beforehand is what gives you that results. And so once I got the results like that high and only for 1 square inch, I was like starstruck, and I just felt amazing, and I just felt so into this, like everything, and just amazing. Like I think that's what amazes me the most is how strong the materials are. Even an 1/8 inch or like an 1/8 inch piece of stainless steel that could hold 1,000 pounds. Like you could.
Right.
It's crazy. All this stuff it really fascinates me. And then the materials. Of course, I worked with really cool materials, so that really fascinates me as well. My favorite part is definitely seeing all the components come together with the material, with all of the fascinating aspects behind it. So we are an architectural art company, like I mentioned before, and we do fabrication, engineering, installing, consulting. So our job is mostly to get the most beautiful seam. Seaming is a delicacy in its own, as you guys know. It's, it's a craftsmanship. It's an art piece in its own. So to get the fastening system right, where the artist is happy, we're happy, it's engineeredly happy, secured safely, a beautiful seam, a beautiful fastening job, that is, it makes me happy. I get really happy. If something's beautifully fastened, it looks beautiful, the material is shining, I'm like super, super stoked. That gets me really happy.
So what percentage of the work with CTEK involves that type of art?
The entire company. Like
so
it's
primary.
Yeah, it's primary. We do primarily large scale architectural art projects, whether that's a building cladded with some sort of artscape, like the Broad Museum. CTEK engineered that. And then in Los Angeles, I'm sorry, I forget you guys are from Los Angeles, but it's in Los Angeles, and it's just an entire building cladded in a beautiful design. And then Frank Gehry is one of our huge clients. He loves working with us. We love working with him. We work with a lot of his titanium buildings that, get titanium cladding. So those are some larger scale. That was one was a 3-story house. The Broad Museum was an entire facility as big as this convention center. And then there's some smaller scale ones that are, an amazing bronze infinity dining table. That was somebody's dining table. And then there's a little cube, some smaller scale cubes. So pretty much we do art fabrication and it's mostly about there. So sometimes they get as big as structures.
Right.
Sometimes they're just as small as little personal art projects in somebody's home or in front of a structure.
Yeah.
Well, Frank Gehry's a big deal. I mean,
Yes.
he's one of those architects mentioned in Ocean's 13.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like,
Yeah.
The
but,
official sign that
Yes,
you made
yeah.
it.
That's right. If you're mentioned by Brad Pitt in an off-color, not off-color, there's an
Yeah.
offhand comment. Yeah, no, but that's interesting. So how did you establish the relationship with him?
Well, that would have to be my father, Eric, back in 1995, I believe. So CTEK was established, and CTEK was doing show cars at the time, and really was just kind of making outstanding, beautiful art clay models and smaller scale art projects. And so Frank Gehry was looking for a glass art piece. And Eric, he's an extremely, extremely smart man, and he was doing complex glass at the time. You know, do you guys know the difference between complex and compound glass?
I do not.
So complex glass is going to be one radius and then one side. Compound glass is convex and concave.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, you're going like this, you're going up and down all around. And so he was looking for a compound glass project, and nobody in the world was successful or could, you know, pull it off exactly how he wanted. His standards, Frank Gehry's standards. Eric and Frank met through, I believe, a referral, and Eric was like, I can do that. And so he went ahead, and his company was the first company to ever attempt to make compound glass, and he was successful, and it was a completely amazing, outstanding structure, and it's in Manhattan, New York, in the Condé Nast cafeteria. But it's an outstanding installation. That is how that relationship started.
Yeah.
So we provided an amazing engineering, one-of-a-kind design, world-leading technology, and Frank Gehry immediately knew he wanted to work with us from that point forward.
And had
so,
faith that there would be the same success with
Of course,
all
of
kind of
course.
metals.
Of course, yeah. So like I said, we love working with Frank. Frank, I can probably say, loves working with us. We do have letters of recommendation, and that relationship's going on for 30 years plus. So
Wow.
we have probably over 10 projects with him, you know, probably 10 or 15. Yeah.
So what is the story behind the titanium house?
The titanium house. So I guess the technical name would be like a floating beach house was the concept behind it. It is right in Marina del Rey, right to the left, about 20 feet away is the beach and the sand. So the story behind, we got commissioned. Frank Gehry came to us for a architectural project. As you can see, it was in the drawing phase. It was just typically how things start with us. Somebody has a design and art, and they say, we want to build this, you know, give us a proposal. Is it feasible? Is it manageable? And we're pretty much the reality checkers that say, okay, we can do this, we can fasten it like this, and, you know, we can make your dream happen. So Frank Gehry came to us with this project, and these are amazing clients. Carol and Roy, but they came to us. CTEK gave them a quote. We said, of course, we could do it with Frank Gehry's craftsmanship and skill level, and they accepted our quote because they're super familiar with us. And we went ahead and fabricated, engineered, and installed that.
And titanium was the choice because of corrosion resistance? or-
Titanium is Frank Gehry's signature material. So
Oh, wow.
so he does other materials, but it's really his signature material. So most of his, Disney Concert Hall, that's
Really? I
titanium.
didn't know that.
Which
and
concert
then
hall?
I'm pretty sure he has
Disney.
a building
yeah.
here that's made of titanium. I'm almost positive he has a building here that's made of titanium, which I'm gonna go check out today. And pretty much is signature material because it lasts forever. The anodization, that's a tongue twister.
Uh-huh.
It lasts an extremely, extremely long time and extremely well. So those beautiful colors you saw in that video, there was rosé, pink, champagne, and like a silver. Those are going to remain those colors for a solid 20 years, you know,
Oh, wow.
like as the Walt Disney Concert Hall.
Right.
That thing is buffed and polished, you know, almost like weekly or monthly. So
Yeah.
that will hold its colors probably for decades and decades. But ours, you know, every client maintains their own piece a certain way. So they maintain it in an extremely well amount, but it's corrugated. So it's
Yeah.
a little more difficult to scrub and wax and stuff
Right.
like that. Anyhow, that's how that project started.
So here's
that
my
was 2017. That was my first project.
Really? Oh, that's a
Yeah.
hell of a first project.
Yeah.
Here's my talk show question of the day. If you had a signature metal, what would it be?
I like a material or metal.
Either or.
I think bronze is really beautiful.
There you go.
I think bronze is really beautiful. I love the patina, and then I love how you could just, you know, grind it off and make it shiny again. And I like its natural aspect and the colors of that way for sure. Titanium, probably be second up.
Yeah.
There you go.
Probably be second up.
If you could work on any project, architectural, automotive, aerospace, anything, tomorrow, what would it be?
Tomorrow, it'd be the project I'm currently working on because we're on this crazy deadline. And I did book this trip before I realized I had the deadline. So I'm like, I pretty much came from the shop to the airport, and I'm pretty much going to go straight back to the shop after the airport.
This is like a long lunch break.
This is a lunch break for me. Flying to Chicago.
Nice.
I really feel like, yeah. But anyways, no, but I mean, just like that was legit because it's such a deadline right now. I'm like, are the guys getting stuff done? Like, but I think.
What can you give away?
Like that I worked on previously, or
no,
just
like,
in the world?
what is that project you're talking about right now?
Oh, it is. Well, I have to be a little bit secretive with it, so
Yeah, okay.
I'll give you the details I can share. It's a 100-foot metal sculpture. It's gonna be made out of stainless steel, and it's gonna be cladded with a form of aluminum. And it is gonna be going out of state. I won't be installing it because it's out of state, but it's gonna be pretty much ready to be buttoned up, fabricated, installed with an Allen key, IKEA status.
Wow.
When is that supposed to be completed?
November 1st.
Okay.
It's going to
Wow.
be ready for shipping on a truck. It's going to be installed before December 7th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Where's it headed?
Extremely. Huh?
maybe not
Where's
in the
it headed?
Midwest.
I don't know. I don't know.
What country is it
We're asking
headed
too many
for?
questions.
It's in
about
Florida. It's in Florida.
Okay,
I'll
there
say
we go.
that.
All
It's
right.
going to Florida.
There you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's middle of November. You're probably
Yeah.
not installing it in Idaho.
Yeah.
How many projects that come through the shop on an annual
It
basis?
depends. We can handle a couple projects at once. However, like I mentioned, we've been building a supercar, and so the shop's kind of in between building a supercar and building amazing architectural projects simultaneously. So we've had our hands full with building a supercar, and we've been taking on architectural projects, whenever it comes our way. But typically, we're very particular about the type of architectural projects we commission. Normally, they're very, beautiful, one of a kind, very like hard engineering, special material, special art piece type of projects we do take on. But I'd say a good year would be 3 projects. A regular year is 1 project.
Okay.
I was like,
And
well,
that typically takes about 6 months to 1 year, depending on the project. So this one we got commissioned last minute. CTEK, is giving it their all. We can handle it. It's just a short time, amount for anyone. So everyone's on overtime. This project, is only going to be about 5 months because the crazy deadline. But I had a project last year that was 1 year long. That was a really long time. And then I've had a couple that last 6 months.
How many people are in the shop?
It ranges between like 10 to about 30.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Wow.
depends. So if there's a lot of projects going on, we'll subcontract more fabricators and subcontract more skilled hands. If we've only got a little bit like our typical schedule going on, then like about 10 in the shop, and then there's other facilities and people doing work at their own office and stuff like that.
I'm curious, with your interest level in so many things technical, why not pursue engineering?
Why not pursue engineering? Because I love to get my hands dirty.
Yeah.
I could just, put in some music, grind something, make something beautiful for like 18 hours and, and like sleep like a baby.
Yeah.
So like engineering, I feel like I'm not really a computer. I love engineering. I think it's amazing, but I couldn't see myself at a computer for more than like
Right.
18 hours a day without like, getting like fried.
Yeah.
But I could be in the shop for 18 hours a day and be smiling at the end of 18 hours.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, makes
that's
sense.
why, definitely.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What kind of fabricating capabilities do you have in the shop?
In the shop. So pretty much, obviously basic fabricating, just like you can be a floater, but I can pretty much do anything, I guess. Like I'm a welder, a project manager, the lead fabricator. I'm leading the team. I'm co-leading the team right now with Eric. So he's handling half the team. I'm handling the other half of the team. I can lead. I can, obviously use all the machinery, all the heavy
So
machinery.
What type of machinery is in
like
the shop?
magnetic drills, presses, power tools, obviously all the good
Yeah.
stuff, all the welders. I can, weld multiple materials. And then mechanical, I'm super mechanical, so I can do all the mechanical stuff, building the motors. Some projects have motors involved in mechanical aspects. It's not just glass or composites or this or just metal. There's motors and moving parts involved, so I'll be able to build and mechanically handle all of that. So I'm the mechanic there as well, and I feel like I'm blanking right now because I'm on the spot. I'll look back and be like, why didn't you mention half the things you do? But yeah, pretty much everything in the shop I
Do you
am
get the
there.
same buzz that you would get on working on cars as you do some of the artistic stuff?
Yeah, it's definitely different. It's definitely different on what I'm doing. So if I'm building a wide body kit for a car and I'm doing composite carbon fiber work, I'm a little like annoyed because I'm itchy. I'm covered in gear. I'm hot. I'm like, you're breathing in the epoxy. You got your respirator on, and like, and so it's a lot of work. But if I'm doing mechanical stuff, like if I'm working on the suspension, if I'm doing some Bondo work and I'm just laying out some nice lines, then that's pretty enjoyable. I could just crank out to some music. So it really just depends on what I'm doing in all aspects. Like, because composites is also in architectural projects as well. We do a lot of composite work in carbon fiber and fiberglass and epoxies. So it's the same thing. Like if I'm doing a composite project for work, I'm kind of like, covered in gear, itchy, really dirty work, all the guys. I mean, I work with, grown adult males who are just as tired as I am by the end of the day. And I'm doing, obviously just as more or just the same amount of work as everyone there. But it just depends on what I'm doing. So if I'm working on suspension stuff in the engine, I'm pretty happy. If I'm doing Bondo work, I'm pretty happy. But if I do composite work, I've grown to like, I'm kind of like covered in gear, sweating, and I'm itchy.
Tell us about the community of like-minded people in Southern California. Like, who do you go and like kind of talk shop with there?
Well, right now, obviously everyone like on our shop row, we're all gotten pretty close. Our shop's been there for like 10 years, so we're all like family there. Like we'll the beers will start coming out after 5, and the music will start playing, and everyone's just having a good time and community and chatting and stuff. Right now, it is I spend a lot of time in the shop right now, just being very honest. Like I'm just working on my career. I'm like really into the shop. I'm really into my project. So if I'm not there, then I'm most likely home right now.
Yeah, sure.
But
sure.
I found a really cool, I just started posting fabrication content on my social media. So that was only like a year. Before it was just strictly car stuff and just like kind of my fun personal life and only the BRZ stuff. And then I obviously was like, I'm doing some really cool stuff in the shop, and I totally gotta share this with everyone and show how dedicated and passionate women can be in the shop, because everyone, the stereotypes and this and that. So I started sharing just about a year ago fabrication and like all the projects and stuff that.
I mean, Instagram has proven to be quite the marketing tool for businesses in this arena. So
it's not too bad. It's hard, recording and fabricating.
Oh yeah,
so hard. But I'm trying my best. That's for sure.
What caught our eye about you was your work with the James Turrell project.
Oh, cool. Yes.
So
you're familiar with James Turrell?
I wasn't that familiar until we came across some of your posts, and
That's what
I know a lot
about
of them are kind of secretive, like their locations.
Of course, yeah.
But how did you get involved with that? And
so James Turrell came to the CTEK, the company. He's been one of our clients for a very, very long time as well, probably about 20 plus years. And so I've worked on a couple projects with him. We normally do. He's a light artist. Are you guys familiar with him at all?
No.
Not really.
He's a light artist, so he frames light. So he brings light out in a very intricate, distinct, raw aspect where all you're experiencing is light and nothing else. And so he frames constellations, he frames the sky. He has either oculuses, like, orbital shapes, or he has those square shapes, as you can see. So he came to CTEK for that project. And so that is a private location. Sometimes they're for art museums or for an art collaborator, like of some sort of person, or sometimes they're for a very wealthy individual who wants an awesome art piece installation in his home.
So he does have one installation in Chicago.
He does?
I think he's got a ton of them,
he's got
right?
hundreds. So I don't know them all, but I'm sure there's, I don't know if it's a public or not, but I'm sure there is
I think it is.
A couple here. But anyways,
rules never stop Gareth from visiting a backyard in a residential neighborhood.
This was the UFO looking one that I mentioned before, and this pretty much was an Oculus, and it was a mechanical composite FRP dome. So you guys know what FRP composites are. So that was all fiberglass and carbon fiber, that circular structure you see. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I built the entire structure there. I didn't engineer or design it, but I built the entire mechanical structure that rotated and moved that entire thing. It was pretty much a drive assembly. It was a car. It was a drive assembly inside that thing with no suspension. It was just a little car with a motor and a track system. And then we did that's complex glass. You see how that's all one radius?
Yeah.
That's complex. And then compound is the crazy structures that go in and out.
So you're forming the glass at the shop as well?
We're not in shop, but it's all our engineering and our process.
So there's a specialty shop that
But we have
that.
a shop we work with who's got our technique down and all that good stuff. Yeah, so that's how James comes to us for either the hole in the sky, like you see. We do those. We do his frames. We've done a lot of those. Or this one was only the mechanical cover, and so the inside of that also projected the screen and the light when it's a that white photo you can see right there.
That's pretty high concept stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Like,
If
do you
look
have problems like kind of describing this to friends in terms of
if I don't show photos, people are just like, that's cool.
Right. Yeah.
Not following you.
I gotta get some photos for absolutely anytime I describe any type of project I work on, and then when they see the photos, they're like, oh wow, that is really cool. But it's unless I sit down and have like a 30-minute conversation with them about the artist and the piece, it's like it's hard to really get the full grasp of the piece,
Yeah. So what's been the response since you've become more active on social media and sharing some of this stuff?
A lot of it's just like giving my content away. And, it's not been, I've also met and followed some really, really cool people. And I've, found like a connection with you guys through there. It was easier to see your guys' podcast and keep up with your information there. And so it's been cool. It's been really cool, but it's mostly me just filming myself and putting it on Instagram. Yeah. But people are slowly finding me. Like I said, it was mostly all automotive people on there. And then I just flipped the switch one day to architectural fabrication. Yeah. And everyone was just kind of like, what? Like, where's the BRZ? Like, what is this? Yeah. Like, why are you mixing? So it's been really cool. I've enjoyed it, and I think I'm going to continue to run the fabrication social media content.
So that opened a whole like level of networking then for you.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, definitely people started contacting me for freelance fabrication as well, which I absolutely admire and I love, because that's awesome, because I do freelance fabrication myself. If I'm not fully booked with an architectural project, then I'll totally work on somebody's car, do some fun composite stuff.
With what time?
Exactly. If I'm not working on a project, there might be like a month or two that I have in my life where I can fit in a little like somebody's fun custom project or custom Bondo work or stuff like that.
Another extended lunch break.
You built a supercar for Frank Gehry.
Yeah, not for Frank Gehry. Yeah, right. No, yeah, but yeah. So yeah, it's been really cool. I've really enjoyed it. It's my 7th year. And I just, really pushing myself every single year. And so I think something that flipped the script was the first 2 years, or when you're just starting the shop, typically you or when you're working for somebody, you might not be into it, or you might be there just, to get your hours, or, say you make a mistake, you're like, whatever, it's the company's mistake, or, so like there's certain mentality you have to have in the shop in order for you to like be involved. So I think the first year was a lot of me learning, a lot of me just doing grunt work and stuff like that. And then I flipped the switch in my head that, I really like this and there's good money in this and I should really go for it. And so I started applying myself. I started observing way more, just being super attentive, started self-teaching myself everything, like YouTube University at the end of my shifts, just looking up everything, Googling all the forums, learning about cast aluminum, learning about tensile strength, shear strength, epoxy compatibility, like all this stuff, pretty much everything. Calling BJB, talking with epoxy companies and representatives, literally just taking the extra step to get the know-how and the knowledge. And then my career just pretty much boomed from there. I just there wasn't somebody that needed to be higher above me, it was just me. So like I mentioned, we would be hiring subcontractors and, like really skilled fabricators. But within 3 years, I was the skilled fabricator that, was like doing the same work as them. So I think it's been really cool to see myself go from there, because I used to just be one of the grunt workers, and now, I'm one of the main fabricators. So I really enjoyed myself, pushing myself to get to that point. So that's cool.
Is there a traditional story to your education at all, or is it
story?
Yeah, or has it been mostly
hard work and passion?
Yeah,
that's
so no
the story. There's nothing.
No vocational classes.
No, I didn't take any trade school classes at all. Yeah. I just observed. My father, would pretty much just say, cut this. It's like tools are not that hard to use. You just gotta like common sense and be smart with your hands and strong powered. You know what I mean? And people spend so much money engineering those tools to do what they're meant to do. Oh, yeah. You just gotta put yourself in the right position, and use the tool property, and it'll do the work for you. So there's a lot of fighting like that. Like when you first start fabricating, the tools don't work with you. Like you got to learn to work with the tools. Yeah. And then, it was just like a lot of that. I just started to learning to work with the tools. If I ever made a mistake, it was on my own time. I stayed late, fixed it or something like that. Not that I made a lot of mistakes, but if I ever did something goofy or something like that, I always made up for it and made sure that never happened again. I never wanted to be, less educated than the other fabricators around me. So I always try to be up with their same their same level. Right. And I felt like really inclined to be as, like working with engineers and the architects and everybody in site and installed, you got to be with them or above them. Like you can't just be sitting there, to look pretty or anything like that. So it was really just like putting my front foot forward, getting my hands dirty, staying late, so much research online, and just doing it over and over again. Yeah, that's pretty much how I learned everything, self-teaching. And then of course my father taught me a lot at the beginning, the basics, but I could definitely say at this time I'm teaching him stuff sometimes too, and he's of course still teaching me stuff. He'll laugh when he sees us, but we're definitely teaching each other stuff. And I've definitely I think I can honestly say I've impressed him with where I've taken the company and fabricating.
Anybody else in the family business?
Yeah, my sister fabricated with me for about 2-3 years, and she's not anymore. So it's just my father and I right now. But before, my grandfather, who passed away, he was with us in our in the business. And then my brother's white collar, funny enough. Nice. So my brother's white collar and his 2 daughters were in the blue collar family business. Nice. So it's just me and him, like, related in the business right now, and just us two. Yeah, everyone else is not related.
Yeah. So have you felt your existence in this world to be free of kind of stereotypical beliefs people have of you?
I wish I could say, no or something, but definitely I'm just faced with doubt, the stereotypical doubt, like just some little girl who's not going to do much. And then by the end of any project or any installation, I do have the most respect, and I do leave the site, with the most respect, at least, because I obviously not there to look pretty. I'm there to work harder than all of them and get stuff done. So I definitely feel, and I have some really funny stories of they just like to, I'm trying to think of the word, but people just like to call your own strengths. Like, just know your own strengths. Like, oh, okay, like, say I'll go try to do something, and then they'll be like, oh, no, I got it. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like literally right here doing it. Like, you don't need to do it. I got it. But, and then it's not, normally until they see me lift a 20-foot, like 3/16 I-beam, like, that they're like, oh, okay. Like, everyone does carry their weight differently, and people are super strong, and like this and that. But I've definitely had my fair share of stereotypical stories. People normally don't take me seriously and they doubt me, and that's typically like the first 2 impressions that I get on a site or in the shop, is that I'm not taken seriously and that my skill level or strength is doubted. And then pretty much within 24 hours or 1 week, that's gone, because I pretty much show myself and I work super hard, and I'm mostly there working as hard as any of the guys in the shop. So definitely just proving myself to them. And this is a lot of the males or people's first time working with a female, so the females are breaking ground, and like, they've always been around, and they've, world wars, they've always been around in the machines and doing awesome hardworking stuff in society. But to be on site working with women or in a shop, sometimes it might be male's first time with me or working with a female. So it's my job to really make an impression, to make a great impression, to do a great job. I mean, it's like my standard to a great job in the first place. But to be like in front of them, it sets a standard and a role model for female and working with females in fabrication. And so talking with people and everything like that, they definitely, after I work with them for at least 8 hours, it's surely, like, oh, okay, like, you're just as tough as all of us, or even tougher than most of the guys here. So I've definitely been met with my stereotypes, and I've definitely put my foot down and shut them all down within 24 hours. Just like, that's all you can do, because normally they just think that they just never worked with a lady before, so they got I got to show them how it's done, and
how
then
much
leave an
does
impression.
that drive your work ethic?
It doesn't drive it. It's just my work ethic. Like, I am just me, and they observe, but it's just annoying that I don't get the same respect, or I just get doubt, or
you're gonna do it regardless.
Yeah, I've just always just been me, done myself, leading the team. Like, as like, it's just like I said, my standard to just be like a hard worker and always be working fast and applying myself and observing, not just like doing this or that. So they see that, but I learned it from my peers. I learned it from previous fabricators who I worked with. There is these gentlemen called Avelino and Arnold. They were one of the hardest working people I ever met. And this project, I'm channeling them. Like, I'm literally just channeling them. They were like, just channeling them. I learned from them. I watched them fabricate. Not that I learn fabricating from them, but I watched their worth ethic, saw how much money they made, and I was like, I can be them. I can make that much money. I can work that hard. And that's so everything I learned, I observed, I've grown, and all that good stuff. So and then the guys are learning from me too. they're learning to work harder. I keep them on their stuff. I keep them busy, keep them sweating. I'm like, are you done? I'm like, okay, so go do the next thing. Like, what are you waiting for? You know what I mean? So it's like, it's been a lot of fun, like working with them. It's been a lot of fun showing them that girls are really passionate, or women are really passionate and amazing fabricators. And it's just stereotypes that make anyone think differently. But I've really enjoyed, like setting a good example for women in the shop, because like I said, it's their first time working with a female sometimes, and so it's important to set that standard.
Was that always something you wanted to achieve? Was project managing?
No, that just happened because, like I was definitely a little bit of a leader growing up. You kind of like, you could tell if you have natural leading like abilities or if you're just more shy. So I was definitely a strong-headed woman growing up, and I kind of had natural leading skills. And like I said, the first couple of years I was a grunt work, kind of, not really coaching anyone or leading the team. And then about 2 or 3 years in, there's a flip that switched, and I applied myself way more, took my leadership skills into accounting, and I gained more responsibility in the shop every single year. So, and then it was just, okay, you lead these 2 guys, and you guys go work on this. And then it became managing an entire component of a project. So my first like project managing, I guess, task was to build that entire mechanical assembly. So that was just me and the other side of the shop, building the entire mechanical assembly from literally hundreds and hundreds of little parts.
Was that for the Turrell installation?
Yeah, and that was managing all those little parts, all those little pieces, the laser cut pieces, the water jet pieces, like, everything. So that was my first little project managing job, was just managing that Oculus mechanical project. And then every project I got more and more responsibility, and then I felt comfortable enough. Last year I had a meeting with Eric, and I was like, I'm ready to take the next step in the shop, ready to make a bit more money, and I'm ready, to apply myself more. I'm ready for more responsibility. And of course he trusted me enough because I've done, incredible work ethic the previous 5 years. And then he's like, okay, you're going to be project manager and, leading the shop and stuff like that. And so that's pretty much exactly how it went. And so my first year was last year, project managing officially. And I worked on a stair project that I haven't been able to post on social media. Anyways, that's been a project that's kind of been in the works and behind the scenes. But that was my first project managing project, and that was really fun. I definitely made some goofy mistakes, like talking with clients, learning the ropes, but it was really cool. So it just kind of happened. Fabricating has always been my goal, to be like a lead fabricator or the lead welder, but project managing just kind of happened through my natural leadership, and just like my productivity and efficiency in the shop is pretty much how the project managing came into play.
Okay.
What do you hope the future holds for you?
I hope the future, I don't know. I hope I'll just build more amazing things. Just continue pretty much the same role I'm on. I think I want my own shop. Like, I think I'll still always want to work for CTEK a little bit, but I think I want my own shop to, just like do my own expressive custom automotive work and some like custom fab work. And then I would probably like subcontract myself for CTEK in the future, for the big projects, or completely, devote myself to CTEK and try running the company in the next 10 years. So I think those 2 options are kind of on my table right now.
If you see an old Subaru Brat out there,
is it yours?
You let me know, and we'll talk about something.
Sure
I'm in the
thing,
marketplace.
absolutely, yeah.
I have no more college tuition to pay, so.
Is there like separate, like certain fabrication work that you want to work on in the future that you haven't gotten the chance to yet?
Oh, glass blowing I think is super beautiful.
Okay.
I really want to try it. I just want to try it. And then carpentry, I'd like to get more into carpentry. Right now I'm like composites, glass, metal fabrication, and automotive fabrication. Like I've been doing that for 7 years, so I'm pretty normal with all of that. But carpentry, I just like ship stuff, you know what I mean? Or like fixtures, wood fixtures, or like wood moldings and stuff like that. So I've never really like built a really beautiful wood piece. So I would like to get into carpentry, and I would like to try out glass blowing. I think that's so beautiful and cool. Wow. But I think all trades are amazing and awesome and super cool. So I want to definitely, just keep like getting stuff under my belt, trying stuff out. Definitely.
That's awesome. Well,
yeah.
Well, you did have a question for Lincoln earlier that I don't think he heard.
Oh yeah.
About metal.
Yeah. If you had a signature metal, what would your metal be?
Signature metal. Oh, stainless.
Okay.
Stainless?
Good answer.
Stainless.
Good answer.
I love the colors of welding stainless. I get to see that. I'm like welding a bunch of stainless right now, and it's like I freaking love those colors. It's so beautiful. Just like the purple and the blue hues.
Yeah.
Way more fun than steel.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
In case mine would be heavy.
Heavy
So,
metal.
Yes.
Heavy metal?
Now that's a perfect soundtrack segue.
There you
Come
go.
on.
It is.
Nice,
yeah.
yeah.
On that note, I think we can wrap this up. Thank you so much, Nikita.
Of course.
is-
You got a
yeah.
lot
Dan,
going
I-
on.
Yeah.
Been
It's
a
been
big
busy.
pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for having me. I'm super, super honored
Nope.
to be here and talk fab with you guys.
Yeah,
I had a super
know.
great time.
I have a feeling your online or social media audience will grow. So I
Great.
think you got a lot to share.
Yeah.
And people who want to find out more about you, where can they find you?
On Nikita Fabrication on Instagram. And then that's pretty much my only social platform right now. There is TikTok, but honestly, I'm super inconsistent with TikTok. So,
Gotcha.
but that's pretty much it right now.
Okay.
You can just message me through
All
my
right.
DM.
There you go. CTEK can be found at ctech.us. The Fabricator can be found on platforms where you can find podcasts or thefabricator.com/podcast.
Yeah. No
you
one's
can
gonna
send-
type that.
What is that?
You got it. Yeah.
People love typing, man.
Yeah, they do.
You underestimate America's love to type. Let's
about
see. If
the
you have
email?
a point, a suggestion, a guest,
Yeah.
hate mail, feel free and send it to the Fabricator. No, I knew I was gonna mess this up. I knew the whole new. I know the whole new email address.
We need a cue
Podcast at fmamfg.org.
Yeah.
I'll give you a second to get your pencil because people love pencils. They love typing in pencils.
They do.
That's podcast at fmamfg.org. I'm Dan Davis.
I'm Lincoln
That's
Brunner.
Lincoln. Oh, you can talk for yourself. Nikita, thank you once again. Gareth, thank you. Brandon, thank you. Sarah, hello. And good night.
The Fabricator Podcast is a production of Fabricators and Manufacturers Association, located in Elgin, Illinois. The show is hosted by Dan Davis and the staff of FMA Communications. The podcast is produced by Gareth Slager and recorded and edited with the help of Brandon Geyer. Sales support provided by Andy Flando. Additional production support by Elizabeth Gavin, Dana Weicker, Mary Diamond, Mike Owens, and me, Sarah Spring. Thank you for listening.